Genuinely, this has caused me physical pain, this achievement. By the way, if you're unfamiliar with these settings, I'm in Aberdeen, so yeah, I'm not at home right now to record this professionally. So you may know that if you say the achievement update, you'll see, you scroll all the way down, you'll see there is some titles, one of them being The Cure. Now, alongside The Glitch, this was a title that people didn't know how to get. The Glitch seemed pretty obvious, you had to beat Hidden Wave. However, The Cure, there was no obvious answer on how you get it. Now, recently, people have discovered how you get it, and it is to beat Polluted Wastelands 2 solo. The reason why it was discovered? Because Polluted Wastelands 2 solo is possible. However, you need to sell your soul to the devil, because I swear to God, this is like one of the hardest achievements to get. Goodness knows, I've tried for, I don't know how long at this point, nearly 6 hours, and I still haven't got it, and in fact, I probably will never get it. So, for this title, there are actually 3 glitches with 2 towers that make this possible. Firstly, it's with the Biologist Tower, where initially, at the very start of the game, Biologist Tower is able to spawn in some sunflowers, multiple sunflowers, from the offing. This is because if you wait for at least a minute or so, the biologist can spawn in a whole bunch of flowers. However, with this, it depends on actually the amount of space around the biologist. So if you put the biologist in this corner here, initially, the biologist is unable to spawn in more than about 3 sunflowers. However, if you put it here, the biologist is actually able to spawn in a couple of sunflowers. In my record is 7 at the very start of the game. In Polluted Wastelands 2, you only really need 5 at the very start, and let's be honest, I've gotten away with the minimum 3, having skipped to the next wave, wave 2, and placed down another biologist. The second bug with the Biologist Tower that makes this possible is the fact that if you use the Biologist Tower at the very start of the map, it causes enemies which target a specific tower to get stunned. Well, not stunned per se, but they get stuck basically. As you can see, the line of nuclear guardians here, they're all stuck because they attempted to target this biologist here. What makes Polluted Wastelands 2 possible is the fact that the nuclear monster can also get stuck if it uses its beam attack on any of the biologist towers. However, unfortunately for you, the beam attack is actually quite rare amongst all the other attacks that the nuclear monster can do. In fact, if you ask me, I don't think I've ever gotten the nuclear monster to be stuck. I've always had like wretched luck with these things. The nuclear monster has never gotten stuck for me. It's always proceeded past where it should go. Because if the nuclear monster doesn't get stuck in about the first loop, you're kind of screwed, because it becomes an impossible task because of the enemies that it can spawn in, the amount of stunning that it can do globally, which causes the enemies up front to actually maul your towers. And the third glitch, which allows you to do this, is the fact that the Mercenary base, when you use the airdrop, it causes the units that come from the airdrop, if you sell the tower, they are unable to die. This is not the expected behavior. When a unit tower, spawning tower, is sold, all of the units that come from that tower are killed. However, they're killed not instantly, but progressively, so 1 unit at a time, so that it doesn't lag out the game. However, for whatever reason, when using the airdrop ability, this doesn't apply. Therefore meaning that if you can time it right, you can spawn in a whole bunch of riot guards to deal with the early enemies that spawn in Polluted Wastelands 2. Now, ordinarily, the only problem would be that the nuke monster has 1.25 million health. However, again, if you do the biologist glitch, it can cause the nuclear monster to get stuck. And when it gets stuck with its beam attack, it therefore means that it cannot actually use any other attack, and it gets stuck in place until it rage mode. When it rage modes, it can continue to move. However, it cannot attack with any abilities that it has, therefore meaning that you only really need to be at 600,000 boss health, which is quite doable with just the mortar and a couple of minigunners. You don't need the golden minigunner, you can use the regular minigunner. But what you do need is the biologist to stun lock the enemies and the nuclear monster, and the Mercenary base to deal with this enemy spam on wave 25. Now actually, it was QA testers who first discovered this back on the start of this week actually. However, as far as I do know this, QA testers, we knew what the Cure name tag was for. We knew it was for Polluted Wastelands 2 solo. However, we weren't allowed to leak it. It was only until recently when people discovered the Cure name tag by chance, or well, by completing the game mode, Polluted Wastelands 2 solo, then can we say, okay, we can actually now say for the fact that the Cure name tag is gotten from beating Polluted Wastelands 2 solo. The only problem is, with the Cure name tag, it's not ordinarily meant to be gotten. I believe the developers added it in as a Easter egg or something like that. In fact, if you ask me, it's similar to the military base glitch back when hardcore mode was first added around 2021, where people using the military base to slow down the game significantly so that they can get a cheap win in hardcore mode. Now, this isn't as serious as a bug as that, because hardcore mode was seen as practically impossible. It was possible, but you had to get very luck based. This is also luck based. Additionally, the only thing that it can really be used for when it couldn't be used previously was to abuse the fact that you can get Polluted Wastelands 2 solo achievements. Now, this does mean there is a conundrum where, because the developers are likely to fix this today with the Ducky DJ booth update, it means that you only have a period of when this video is being released, about 12 or so hours until the developers fix this bug. And unfortunately for me, I'm on a train for all of those 12 hours, so I don't think I'll be able to get this achievement. Now, some helpful advice to people who actually want the Cure title, sorry. Firstly, get a PC. Unfortunately, I don't think it's possible on mobile because of the fact that you have to use keybinds to do the riot guard spam and the commander at the same time. I just don't think it's possible on mobile. Secondly, because of the amount of explosions from the mortar, from the military base, from literally everything that's going on in this game mode, I think you need a powerful PC. On top of that, you have to get your microing with keybinds, with the UI especially, because you have to select the riot guard on point. I don't have this on point. Now, ordinarily, this wouldn't be the case if the nuclear monster gets stuck here. If the nuclear monster gets stuck here, then I think it's a breeze for me, even with this. However, the nuclear monster does not get stuck here, so it can use its stomp ability, or ground slam ability, where it can destroy all of my units, meaning that all my effort has gone to waste. I have lost to the Necromancer Boss a load of times on wave 25 with 3,000 health left, which would be fine if the nuclear monster did not kill all of my units multiple times. I would be totally fine to win this game mode. Oh, and it's because it's quite long, it's about 27 minutes. There's no timescale tickets in Polluted Wastelands 2 for whatever reason. If you lose internet connection, you're kind of screwed. So, again, one of the perks of having good internet connection is that you can be able to do Polluted Wastelands 2 solo. As I've alluded to in the past, the developers are likely to fix this glitch, or any of these three glitches, because you rely on all three to be able to beat Polluted Wastelands 2 on solo. Again, I think the title was added as a kind of Easter egg / joke that the Cure was impossible to get, really. But this does mean, because the Cure is possible to get, it's been possible to be gotten since the Biologist was added to the game, it means that if you don't have the Cure title, it means you haven't completed 100% of the entire game. Now, I'd like to point out that the rewards for triumphing Polluted Wastelands 2 in solo, obviously apart from the name tag, are 1,250 coins, 100 gems, 2 timescale tickets, and 2 spin tickets. So really, not all that good of a reward, not like a deluxe crate or anything like that. In fact, I'd argue that the Awakened achievement is better. 2,000 coins, more than the Cure, 150 gems, more than the Cure, and a high-grade crate, which I prefer over a gambling ticket and timescale tickets. Again, developers likely to fix this, so if you want the Cure title, I don't know why you would want it, but fair enough. If you want to lose your soul based on RNG because the nuclear monster has to use its laser beam attack, if not, you're screwed. If you want to lose your sanity, go ahead and try and get this title. Otherwise, don't bother. Just don't claim that you've 100% of the game if you don't have this title, plus the Frost Spawner, the champion name tag, core block signs. Yeah, there's a lot of hard stuff in the game now.